Welcome back. Well, there's just over a month until Israelis go to the polls for the fourth time in less than 2 years, with campaigns now kicking up a gear. Well, I24 News, in collaboration with Israel Hayom Daily, releasing this poll, firstly asking Israelis who is the best to run the country, with 32% saying Benjamin Netanyahu, while 14% believe Yair Lapid is better suited. Gideon Saar with 13%, Benny Gantz just 4%, while 26% of people polled say they have no idea. When asked whether Netanyahu's trial will influence their vote, 63% replied not at all. 17% say it negatively influences them against him. 7% say they see him more favourably, while 13% say they don't know. And for more on this, let's bring in our diplomatic correspondent, Ellie Hockenberg, joining us there from Herzliya. Hello there, Ellie. Thanks for coming on to chat. Firstly, let's take a look at these polls. As I mentioned, the majority of those people there polled say they would vote for Benjamin Netanyahu, thinking he is the best fit for the job, despite him currently facing criminal proceedings. Tell me, why is there so much support for him, and can we really expect this to be the case when the polls open?
Well, that's perhaps the greatest mystery or the biggest truth, if you will, at the same time in Israeli politics in the last few years, especially ever since the indictments against the premier were officially submitted. They were then speculated to become a main card or element that will change the political landscape, but nothing really changed. The support for Netanyahu remained as is, to an extent even gained momentum, and this deadlock, the political deadlock, was not even influenced much by the legal challenges the premier is facing. So that this court appearance is not making much difference whatsoever, and the name of the game of forming a coalition remains the same. This time around, perhaps more enhanced than ever. Pro-Netanyahu bloc or anti-Netanyahu bloc. It's not right versus left, but whether you're willing to join forces with Netanyahu or not. And even again, with everything being so clear-cut, the bloc that opposes Netanyahu fails to find an easy path to a coalition, to this golden number of 61 seats. So again, it all comes down to Benjamin Netanyahu, yes or no. And it appears that as long as the debate is Benjamin Netanyahu, yes or no, there's only one winner here, and that's Netanyahu himself.
All right, and Ellie, what are we hearing regarding this proposed incentive scheme for people who are vaccinated, while those who aren't could potentially face restrictions?
Right. So there's obviously a massive campaign to encourage Israelis to get vaccinated. The data is extremely impressive, unprecedented if we're taking a look at the situation across the world. But it's not enough to go back to an operating economy, to the public sphere that will operate in full gear, let it be the education system, commerce, or, again, other elements of public life. So the campaign to encourage vaccination is being underlined, not so much when we're talking about sanctions against those who will decide not to get vaccinated, because here there are also some legal challenges to actually impose sanctions on those that, again, choose not to. But they're trying to use the carrot rather than the stick to encourage people to do so. So people that will get vaccinated will be able to gradually go back to life, let it be able to go to gyms, to cultural events, sports events, etc. It remains to be seen, of course, how it will influence Israelis themselves, but also we're targeting some more challenging communities, let it be the ultra-Orthodox communities, the Arab sector, that those incentives might not necessarily speak to them. So I think it is too early to say whether this new turn of this vaccination campaign will actually bear fruit, but for the time being, all the efforts are to A, regain the public's trust when it comes to handling the fight against the pandemic, and B, again, try to get as many Israelis as possible vaccinated, so more and more sectors of the public sphere will go back to business, at least to some degree.
All right, Ellie Hockenberg there. Always great to chat politics with you. Thank you. Moving now to Palestinian elections set for July, with a senior Fatah member paying a visit to an Israeli prison, reportedly to try and convince a potential candidate not to run. 61-year-old Palestinian prisoner Marwan Barghouti, he is currently serving 5 life sentences for murder and is reportedly considering a run at the presidency, with Hussein al-Sheikh, a figure close to the current president, Mahmoud Abbas, meeting with Barghouti yesterday. Well, the inmate is a popular figure among Palestinians, and many believe he could prove a threat to Abbas, who's been at the helm of the Palestinian Authority since 2005. And for more on this story, let's bring in Colonel Alon Aviatar, Palestinian affairs expert and former COGAT advisor. Alon, thanks for coming on. Firstly, walk us through this, and how would it all work, given that Barghouti is in jail?
Well, this is a huge question. I think that nobody has a real and good answer for that, because it's, I would say it's a big question which exists on the Palestinian table and also on the Israeli table, which means I think that meantime, it's kind of a game, because both sides, the Palestinians and the Israelis as well, know for sure that no doubt or no chance for releasing Barghouti from the jail. So it's kind of a game, part of the election. I think it's a kind of a balloon, political balloon. Meantime, no Israeli interest for releasing to release Barghouti from the jail, and I think it should be also the same interest after the election in Israel. So, anyhow, I don't think that Barghouti will be a real candidate in the Palestinian election, and we see that the Palestinian president coordinate with the Israeli Ministry of Defense or the Israeli Prime Minister visiting by Palestinian senior in the jail. This senior, Hussein al-Sheikh, is a minister in the Palestinian government, visited Barghouti and convinced him to give up. It kind of preventing pressures on Israel, maybe to release Barghouti in the future. But anyway, to summarize it, I don't think it's a realistic step, and I don't think that Barghouti will be out of his jail during the next future. And I think that on the final, we will not meet Barghouti as a real candidate.
All right. Alon Aviatar there, thank you for that, and we'll keep across this story. Well, the 4th day of former US President Trump's impeachment trial is now underway, with his defence team facing many hurdles after House impeachment managers concluded their case against him on Thursday. Well, lead manager Representative Jamie Raskin delivering the team's closing argument, with the Maryland Democrat urging senators to convict Trump for inciting the insurrectionists who attacked the US Capitol on January 6. Here's more.
Senate's adjourned.
House impeachment managers making their closing arguments against former President Donald Trump.
Exercise your common sense about what just took place in our country.
If we pretend this didn't happen, or worse, if we let it go unanswered, who's to say it won't happen again?
Prosecutors spent their final day looking at the national security implications of the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol.
Our adversaries are even using the events of January 6th not only to denigrate America, but to justify their own anti-democratic behavior, calling America hypocritical.
And hammering home why they believe Trump incited the insurrection.
We were invited by the President of the United States!
Their own statements before, during, and after the attack make clear
The attack was done for Donald Trump.
The focus will now shift to Trump's defense.
I think you'll at least be moved by what you see and get a much better picture of exactly what's going on here and the hypocrisy in some of the positions taken by the House managers in this case.
His team will present its case Friday and plan to keep it brief.
It should be as short as possible, given the complete lack of evidence and the harm that this is causing to the American people.
The numbers are on his side, with the majority of Republicans expected to vote to acquit the former president.
Moving on, and a broadcasting war has erupted between China and the United Kingdom, with Beijing announcing that it's banned BBC News from broadcasting in China just a week after the UK revoked the licence of China Global Television Network to broadcast in the UK. Well, China believes that the BBC's been unfairly reporting on the plight of Uyghur Muslims, saying that women in camps are systematically raped, along with the network's reporting of coronavirus. Well, China's Broadcasting Association, the NRTA, saying that the BBC infringed on the principles of truthfulness in journalism, with the BBC calling the decision disappointing. Earlier this month, CGTN was pulled from British TVs after the UK's regulator found it was in breach of its terms, with its licence wrongly held.
We absolutely condemn the PRC's decision to ban BBC World News. The PRC maintains one of the most controlled, most oppressive, least free information spaces in the world. It's troubling that as the PRC restricts outlets and platforms from operating freely in China, Beijing's leaders use free and open media environments overseas to promote misinformation.
Well, Russia's opposition leader, Alexei Navalny, is today having another day in court, this time facing charges of slander. Well, it's all in relation to a video released supporting constitutional changes which allow his bitter rival, President Vladimir Putin, to remain in the job until 2036. Navalny calling those in the video, including an elderly war veteran, the shame of the country. Well, the case comes as tensions between Russia and the West are mounting over a 3-year prison sentence already handed down to the Kremlin critic, with the West looking at sanctions on Moscow.
In the event that we again see sanctions imposed in some sectors that create risks for our economy, then we will cut ties. We don't want to isolate ourselves from global life, but we have to be ready for that. If you want peace, then prepare for war.
Moving now to a developing story, and the hunt is on to select a new president of the Tokyo Olympic Committee after its president stepped down over sexist remarks following a wave of international criticism. 83-year-old Yoshiro Mori was quoted as saying that women speak too much during meetings, adding that female board directors would take a lot of time. Well, the news coming just 5 months until the Olympics are set to begin, already in doubt due to the pandemic.
I don't think there is any need to discuss gender in the selection of the president. I think it's all about choosing the qualified person. Also, regarding the fact that there are no women above the position of vice president on the board of directors, I would like to make efforts to promote women.
And that is all we have time for this edition of i24 News. But of course, we are continuing to bring you all of the breaking stories. So do go ahead, visit us online, i24news.tv. And we have all of those stories for you on all of our social media platforms. I'm Sarah Coates. See you at the top of the hour.